You know over 1.2 million Americans have already left the city since 2020. Not tourists, not retirees, families, people in their 30s and 40s, packing up and disappearing into the countryside. They're not running from war, they're running from noise, from rent, from the feeling that life turned into a loading bar that never finishes. Look around. Apartments are smaller, commutes longer, prices higher, and somehow everyone calls that progress. But maybe what's happening isn't collapse. Maybe it's correction, a quiet migration. Be honest, do you really feel free or just busy? At what point did survival become normal? 62% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and 41% rely on credit cards just to survive the month. Rent, record high. Groceries, up 25%. Gas, don't even check. The so-called land of opportunity now charges a monthly subscription. Every swipe, every click, another fee for being alive. You know what's still free? Noise, chaos, stress, peace. That's premium. People are working harder than ever and somehow owning less. It's not a dream anymore. It's a payment plan. So maybe that's why Americans are starting to ask, what happened to freedom? Because if everything in life comes with a bill, how free are you really? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how much it takes to escape that cycle where people are already doing it and why millions are walking away from the grid for good. This is Off-Grid USA. What was the breaking point? The rent, the noise, or that moment you realized your time wasn't really yours anymore? Everyone says they're free, but look closer. Most people can't even choose how to spend a Tuesday. They wake up to alarms they didn't set, work jobs they don't own, pay rent for walls they'll never keep. That's not freedom. That's a well-decorated cage. The system calls it convenience. Food delivered, bills auto-paid, everything handled, except your peace of mind. And people started to feel it. That low buzz of control disguised as comfort. So they began to ask the question, if I'm so free, why do I feel trapped? Maybe freedom isn't a skyline view. Maybe it's space to breathe. Out there, no one cares about your resume or your Wi-Fi speed. What matters is daylight, clean water, and time that's actually yours. Cities promised opportunity, but they deliver debt and noise. And somewhere between the traffic and the subscriptions, people realized they weren't living, they were maintaining. So now they're leaving. Not because they hate the city, because it stopped feeling like home. Let's talk about numbers, because behind every family leaving the city, there's math. The average rent in America just passed $1,900 a month. Groceries up 25% since 2020. Childcare, don't even ask. Most people work full-time just to stay broke full-time. So when they see what life costs outside the grid, they start running the numbers differently. A small off-grid setup in the US, you're looking at around $25,000 to $60,000 total. That's land, a small cabin, solar, and water. Land first. You can still find rural acres for $2,000 to $5,000 each in Arkansas, Missouri, or northern Arizona. In Idaho or Montana, it's $6,000 to $12,000. But that buys silence, not skyline. Power? A full solar setup runs $8,000 to $15,000. Rainwater system $3,000. Compost toilet $1,000. Add it up and you realize something. You could own peace for less than a year of city rent. So what's the smarter investment? Another 12 months of sirens or a lifetime of quiet? People spend more on subscriptions, upgrades, and smart homes that listen more than they help. You don't need smart, you need sovereign. That's the math nobody in the city wants to do. Because once you see the numbers, it's hard to unsee the trap. So where can you actually do it? Some states make off-grid life a paperwork nightmare. Others barely notice you exist, and that's the point. Idaho still feels like the old America. No HOA letters, no zoning headaches, just space. Montana and Wyoming, few rules, more freedom, and winters that'll test your willpower. Arizona and New Mexico, endless sun, but water's a luxury brand. Freedom always comes with a trade-off. Which one can you handle? The Midwest, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, quietly turned into an off-grid migration zone. Cheap land, decent laws, neighbors who wave instead of filing noise complaints. Funny how the freer the county, the worse the Wi-Fi. Maybe that's why people stay sane. Texas has dusty corners where no one cares how you power your cabin. Colorado hides valleys the law forgot. Maine's got forests where people still build by hand. Every one of those places proves the same thing. You don't need permission to live, just enough guts to do it. Some states talk freedom, but sell regulation. There are less states and more PvP zones. So where would you rather live? In a rule book or in reality? When did surviving the week replace living a life? Out there, the math changes. 10 acres for the price of one parking spot downtown. No HOA, no noise, no fake smile at the office. They trade Wi-Fi speed for silence, Amazon Prime for real time. And somehow they feel richer. Isn't it strange? We used to move to cities for opportunity. Now we move away to find it. It's not rebellion, it's correction. People aren't running from modern life. They're running towards something real. Because out here, peace doesn't buffer. It just exists. So what about you? How long will you keep paying for a life that never really loads? So why are they leaving? Since 2020, more than 4.2 million Americans have left big metro areas for small towns or rural counties. That's not a trend. That's an exodus. The fastest growing counties in America? They're not New York, not LA, not Chicago. They're places you've probably never heard of. Custer County, Idaho, Polk County, Arkansas, Ravalli County, Montana. Why? Because the math finally broke. The average mortgage in the city just passed $2,400 a month. Gas, food, and insurance all up double digits. Meanwhile, rural land prices rose slower. And in many states, you can still buy 5 acres for less than 1 month of city rent. People started asking themselves the question nobody in the system wants to hear. What am I really paying for? Because after years of smart living, everything got expensive, except the quality of life. The noise was free. The stress was free. But peace, that came with fees. So they left. Not for politics, not for TikTok, but for balance. Some moved to build cabins. Others just wanted a garden and a well that no one could shut off. And once they tasted ownership, real ownership, going back wasn't an option. Now, entire communities are forming off-grid, solar co-ops, shared wells, local barter networks instead of bank loans. They're building what the cities forgot, independence. This isn't rebellion, it's self-correction. America's not falling apart, it's decentralizing. So if millions are already leaving the grid behind, the real question is, how long before you start thinking about it too?